men do not care. Men do not look at sexual promiscuity in the same way that a woman would. Oh, I'm sorry, you're barely dressed, love. Let me put a cover over you. A lot of the women in my college that were considered whores or promiscuous, they were the first to be wifed. This guy I was dating in college, he got a tattoo of me. Women that are very promiscuous, I notice, are always leading from that root chakra of feeling like you slept with this man too, or you da-da-da-da. Welcome back to my channel. I know that it's been a while since I posted my last video and I do apologize. I know that people have been waiting for this. I am so sorry, but I do want to just explain why I have been a little MIA towards the end of the video, so please stay for that. Just a disclaimer, down below you can follow the link to my Spotify podcast. So my podcast is also on Spotify. Those of you that know, I started off on Spotify, and if you are just coming to this channel and you kind of don't have like a background of what I talk about, then that would be a really good reference. Also, anything that I'm not able to talk about on YouTube, like if you have to get a little deeper or something, you know, just a little bit too deep for YouTube, I'm gonna go ahead and say it on there. I want to get back active, just talking about a lot of things going on in our society. First, before I start this video, I want to make a quick disclaimer, because for some reason, when you talk about sex and when you talk about like body count, soul ties, it's a very touchy subject for many. I just want to first state that I'm not coming from a judgmental place. I feel like in the society that we live in, everyone has their vice, everyone has their addiction, everyone has their scapegoat that they latch onto when things are hard, being it sex, smoking, drinking. I think that we all have our vice. A lot of times women think that when you are speaking down on sex that it's like pick-me-ish, or that you're trying to like impress men. What I will tell you from being a virgin in college, like men are not checking for you if you are not sleeping with them. They're not checking for you as much if you are on your celibacy journey. This is strictly something that is for us women. Side note, a lot of the women in my college that were considered whores or promiscuous, they were the first to be wifed. Now, I'm not talking down, but what I'm trying to say is that men do not care. Men do not look at sexual promiscuity in the same way that a woman would. Sometimes what we see like in another woman, we can know that she's like passed around promiscuous, like whatever you want to call it, but a man will look at that as sexual energy, if that makes sense. Like men just want sexual access, and a lot of times like men don't even have as much sexual access as you would think. So when they get that like from a woman, they are going to go there. They're not like, oh, I'm sorry, you're barely dressed, love. Let me put a cover over you. Your favorite podcaster, your favorite, you know, stand-up guy, your best male friend, he's not going up to a whore and saying, oh honey, like I want you to change your ways, let me put a jacket on you. No, if he has a chance to have sex with that whore, he's going to do it. Whether she's a pick-me, whether she's a feminist, he's going to do it. And this is not anything male bashing. This isn't any, like, in fact, in my life, my comfort zone has always been when I wasn't in a long-term relationship, I had male friends. So it's just funny when people say, oh, you're male bashing, because you preach to women's self-preservation over just being promiscuous with their bodies. And just, you know, it doesn't make you feel good as a woman. It doesn't. So I just want to put that out there, because for some reason, when you bring up this subject, a lot of people like have a lot of shame attached to it. I just want to let you know, this is not a video to shame anybody. This is not a video to look down on anyone. It's more so to educate people on like the true ramifications of soul ties, talking about my celibacy journey and just how this all even came up in the first place. So yeah, we're gonna get right into it. I know that I tend to talk really fast. That's just because I'm trying to get out a lot of information in a short period, and I don't want these videos to be super long, and I just want to get my point across. So if that is a problem, just say kind of like, yo, slow down a little bit. Like, why are you talking so fast? That is why I'm doing that. Okay, so this is a very full circle moment for me. Those of you that know me from years and years back, my very first podcast that I started, I talked about being a virgin in college at 24. I did not lose my virginity, so to speak, until I left college. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up is because there's been a lot of people back then, I guess, that acted like what I was saying was so crazy. I used to talk about soul ties, y'all. I had a whole blog about how sexual energy can like affect you. And this was even before I had sex, y'all. Like, this was like, my intuition was so strong. Mind you, after I did everything that I was saying was correct, and this is why I trust my intuition. Like, I'm telling you, everything's gonna make sense. A lot of people assume that, oh, just because you're a woman that want to only be with one person. No, I actually have been in a place where I was like, okay, I haven't been with enough people. Like I hit 30 and I was like, I haven't been with enough people. I need to like put myself out there, and you know, I'm trying to have more connections. Like that's how I've always been, believe it or not. Like I felt like I did not have enough connections before I settle down, get married, all this stuff. Like, you know, maybe what, masculine behavior, I don't know. Like, but I always wanted, I actually was like pushed for that to happen. And then like for once, this guy I was dating in college, he got a tattoo of me, and I was finally like, you know, like whatever, like I'll just do this, like whatever, I guess we love each other, da, da, da. The moment that I came to that conclusion, I found out that he cheated on me with his ex, and it was like, okay, back to being a virgin for the rest of my college life. But I used to look at it as a curse. I used to be like, why do I always get like so like attached to these men, and then the moment that I'm gonna do that, like, you know, because it takes me a little while, like the next thing you know, it's divine protection, bro. Like you are not meant to sleep with every man that you want to sleep with or that you feel like you have a connection with. It's just, I'm telling you, and a lot of women are looking at this, they know exactly what I'm talking about, because sometimes God will intervene and you will still do it and you will feel like shit because that man was a bad energy exchange. Yes, ladies. So if you ever get those urges and those feelings like that this person is not for you, take heed to that and just go on to the next person. So I basically was like very scrutinized in my college because I openly did not want to sleep around, and I wasn't waiting for marriage. I just was kind of like, you know, people said I was on my high horse because I decided I just did not want to be one of the many, like, and I know that's what happens in college, y'all. I'm not judging, but like as an Aquarius, I don't know. I just, when I see certain people, like multiple people just doing the same thing, and like my college was super small, you know, you just start to hear things and you start to realize like the food web connection of everybody just being connected. It was too much. It was overwhelming for me. So I openly talked about it. I talked about how it's feminist indoctrination, because this is what people don't realize about feminism, okay? Feminism is indoctrination of promiscuity and hookup culture. I understand like there's so many different layers, but this is the biggest reason why like the family dynamic is messed up, is because why would a man have to go and work things out with his wife if Samanda's over here, you know, just willing to be with him? Or why would a person have to be just like loyal at all when there are people that will play side chick, side dude, all this stuff? Like promiscuousness is what has ruined the Black family. It has ruined America. It has ruined dating standards. It has ruined everything. And it is at the core of so many things. When people bring up feminism, they don't bring up promiscuity. I look at them sideways because a lot of people that talk down on feminism are very promiscuous. That is my like woman accountability narrative. I'm just being honest. Like when I was in college, it was always like the pick me and the feminist girls that just, in my opinion, paid too much unhealthy attention on men, whether it was hating them or whether it was just pandering and defending them all day. So I am pretty scarred, I'm not gonna lie, of some of these men that like try to divide like the pick-mes and the feminists, when even like in some of the groups that I've been in this year, and just like the people that talk about these things, but it's like they embody feminism based on their like sexuality. And I'm not saying that to be judgmental, but it's just on both sides is promiscuity. So what did I come up with? I think that being male-centered creates an unhealthy dynamic with men. So back to me in college, right? Being a college virgin, like I think one of the biggest insights that this gave me was having a non-sexual relationship with a lot of men gives you insight on how they treat women from like a non-intimate view. And I think it's very different. And I think that it also gave me like a lot of just background as to how men and women move like in a society. I often felt like in the society I was like a crow, you know, in the fucking corner just watching everybody. Like, I don't know, I was always like the black sheep from my family to college to just everything. I find that the reason people put an unhealthy focus on others outside of themselves, even when it comes to like these podcast narratives and the pick me and the feminism battle back and forth with each other, is because I feel like we're missing like individual stories. We're missing people being able to be vulnerable enough to really explain what they're going through. Like for instance, I had a lot of older women, right, that I know had Jezebel spirits, aka bad energy from just being a promiscuous woman. Like these are the women that come at me like the craziest, and they will try to almost project that onto me, like, oh, you're bitter, da, da, da. I haven't slept around. I've had actually great long-term relationships in my life, which side note, I think that people that don't have long-term relationships and they try to start these podcasts and they've been in hookup culture all their life, it's starting to actually kind of show. No shade, but stick to what you know, because a lot of you have not even been able to solidify long-term relationships, which in my opinion give you a true standard on who you are. Not because you're supposed to take validation from other people, but a lot of people think they're just going to jump into a marriage and they haven't even had like long-term relationships and connections with people. They just delved into hookup culture all the time. A lot of these older women that come to me that are very like bitter and jealous and stuff, I think that comes from a level of promiscuity. Not only that, but not completing your goals and going after more than just a man. The way that I think it's connected is when you get that urge to have sex and you are like, you know, feeling like that, a lot of times on a spiritual level, you're actually being called to create. You're being called to create. You're not always being called to have sex. So a lot of times when people think that, oh, I just want to do this, they're craving connection, or they're craving connection with themselves, like connection with their art, if that makes sense. The older women, this is the connection that I've made with these older, like Jezebel spirit type of women that, in my opinion, slept around in their time and they're very bitter. Like they will act like it's you, but they're very bitter and you can feel this. I noticed that a lot of these men will be like very impressionable to these older women. Now, how is the connection, right? Some of these older women are some of the meanest women I've ever met. These are the same women by their age group that raised like the men that a lot of us talk about today. So I feel like that overly women accountability narrative comes from the mother wound. And I think that when women are placing like an unhealthy emphasis on men, whether it's negative or positive, I think that comes from the father wound. So what are you saying all this to say, Jael? What is all this mumbo jumbo? Basically, a lot of us would do better searching internally for what we need to fix. That self-love journey. A lot of us don't want to do that. A lot of us want to create these talking points that we're not really living. And all I can do is really add like my 2 cents to it all and tell y'all like what I'm really seeing, what I'm really feeling. Also, how does promiscuity affect men? We're gonna get into this really, really quick. How does promiscuity affect men? This is one of the things that a lot of people love to know. In short, connecting with the wrong woman, and I've seen it with my male friends, because again, you guys remember in the beginning of the video, like my relationship with men. My comfort zone has always been to be in a long-term relationship or have a male friend like here giving me advice, whatever. That's just the whore in me. That's the male-centeredness in me, which sometimes gets me in trouble. We can get into that. We can get into that on this channel. That's the male-centeredness in me, I'm not gonna lie, and it's not good. How does promiscuity affect men? In short, it affects y'all's finances. It affects y'all's ability to be appreciative of one woman. It affects y'all's pair bonding abilities. I know they try to act like women can't pair bond. If y'all want me to do a whole nother video on that, bro, women don't have an issue pair bonding, and I can have a whole separate discussion on why. It's just biology. It's biology. I don't know who started that narrative. I think it was a red pill dude, but that's fake. Promiscuity starts to show in men's life once they hit the age of like 30 and they can't like do anything. Like they can't like progress their lives. And then they realize that there is a ramification for them sharing their energy with lame women that they didn't want to take on the aspects of, if that makes sense. So a lot of these promiscuous dudes now that did not protect their energy, some of them are just feeling very inadequate about themselves. And you can definitely see that in men. I know that our society wants to act like, oh, it's not the same for men, but it is. It affects their energy and it affects their ability to, in my opinion, manifest. Oh, and based on the woman that kind of like spread this rumor about me, like I'm so used to people doing this when they find out that I'm celibate, which I don't even like to connect myself to that label. I don't like to connect myself to any labels because look, I could be non-celibate tomorrow, you know, this is just what it is right now. Women that are very promiscuous, I notice, are always leading from that root chakra of feeling like you slept with this man too, or you da-da-da-da. That is the ramification of a soul tie. If you have this crazy hold on a guy, like bro, I've been attached with less, and I know that a lot of women like to act like sex just doesn't affect them, and like they're just not affected. I'm affected. Like they try to act like it doesn't affect them, then they go crazy and like, you know, it affects you. Like you tried to lie and say it didn't affect you, but it did. And now you're coming after the other woman, not other woman, excuse me, but you're coming after a woman that all the women that you think, oh, he's with da-da-da. That's a soul tie. Soul ties make you crazy. Soul ties get you attached. I want women to stop acting like they're not attached by sex. Like know who you are, you know who you are and how you move. Stop trying to act like things just don't matter to you, and then, you know, your emotions can't handle that. Last thing I want to say, because I want to get a little bit more personal, because if I'm telling y'all that people are creating these narratives because they're not really living life, then I would have to be a little bit vulnerable about my situation. You know, I was with somebody that I talked to long term. We were long distance for a couple years. He moved down here. It just ended up being a disaster because this man was like poor. He was trying to like live off of me, y'all. So unfortunately, this catapulted me into just a long time of being celibate. And this group that I was was a part of, you know, again, like all the pick-mes and the women that talk about this and that, like there was a pick-me, okay, always promiscuous, right, that decided to throw me under the bus and like lie on me, stating that I had sex with this guy that I did not sleep with. She actually did, and actually more stuff came out about her. She was sleeping with a married man. I'm telling you, these pick-mes and feminists, there's no separation, but I've been saying this for years. People don't get it. And it's always the type of girl that does not look like the aesthetics that y'all claim they look like. It's always the traditional, or like the pick, like they're not the baddies, they're not the modern women. And I hate to bring up looks, but what am I saying all this to say? A lot of y'all are looking for an aesthetic. A lot of people, when, you know, this girl brought up that, oh, they're celibate, there was people saying, oh, there's no way, there's no. Well, honestly, y'all, like you talk about how the dating pool has piss in it all the time. I've gotten out in the field. I've tried to date. I've tried to create that connection. And when it's just not right, it's not right. Like I've literally gotten all the way up to the point of feeling like, oh, this is like such a great guy, da da da, and then it just not being that. And it's okay. You don't have to sleep with every person you date, talk to, love, any of it. Soul ties. What is the true ramification of soul ties? Have you guys ever seen that study where couples, when they have been together for a long time, not only did they start to physically look alike, okay, and you guys can look this up, they start to physically look alike over time because of the energy exchange. Now, if you think that people's physical appearance only changes and not their mental, emotional, like everything else is not connected, then you are crazy. You pick up on the emotions of people that you sleep with. This is an absolutely true thing. I think that a lot of young women, instead of looking at what I'm saying and thinking that it's judgmental, all that I'm trying to warn you about is the fact that it really does diminish your self-worth. And this is on a spiritual level. This isn't on any type of, you know, oh, they're looking at you like this, or you should feel this way about this person. You don't have to care what people think. But I'm 31 now, and like the same way they said I was on my high horse in college, I'm not gonna lie, I feel really good about myself. Having a low body count and being selective with who you sleep with gives you a lot of confidence. This is something that I don't even think men understand. Like I can tell like the bitter older women that did not, like they were not selective with themselves, and therefore like that creates a bitterness in you that a lot of people just do not understand. My first connection that I had, like ever, my first relationship, my first soul tie, everything that I was saying before I even had sex was completely true. I had to do some healing for like a year and a half. I was battling feelings of like depression, anxiety, feelings that were not mine, mind you, feelings that were not mine. Some of you don't even realize people do sex magic. They do like very sinister things. You guys can look this up, but XXX had a manager where he would literally do like sex magic on women to like bind them to him. So I'm just saying all this to say, y'all know not everybody has like great intentions out here. Like when it comes to sex, I know you guys just think that everything's like all sweet and you just, oh, like what's the nut culture? Like wait for the right person, the right connection. Wait for somebody that has like all the qualities that you actually want, because hey, if you're gonna pick up on qualities from somebody after sleeping with them, at least make sure that it's somebody's qualities that you want to take on. That's all that I'm saying. Do what y'all will with that information. And the reason that I've been taking so long with these videos, y'all, is because I have had so much going on, and I know that is not an excuse, but I really do apologize, because I know that the world is, I know this sounds so crazy, but I know that the world has been just needing to hear what I have to say. I know it for a fact. So many people are down on themselves. So many people are getting negative. So many people are acting like money is running out. I hate when y'all do that. I'm not gonna lie, that's gonna make your money run out quicker. You're gonna be broke by the end of the year if you keep stressing about money. I'm not gonna lie to y'all. So last thing I want to say, I like to relate everything to manifestation. So for those of you that do not think that constantly like focusing on the opposite sex, like you think that that's like hate, whatever the fuck, like the people that are in the best relationships put themselves first, and then they come together and they share that love with the other person. Friendships, relationships, marriage, I've seen it. Spiritual warfare is real. Like I have definitely been MIA because I'm dealing with experiences to come back and share with you all to help you guys learn and navigate, you know, the ins and outs of spiritual warfare, etc. So if you guys like this video, go ahead and like and subscribe. If you want to hear more things about this, please like and subscribe. And again, don't forget to follow the link below for my Spotify for any time that I have to get on there and just say some extra things that I'm not able to say on here.